Okay, good evening YouTube. Welcome back to this episode of FPL Family, and it's the first live stream of the 22-23 season. Good to be back in it. Good to be back.
Well, it's a bit hot.
It's a bit hot today, isn't it?
Otherwise, it's great to be back.
Si is already in the chat. Hello, Simon. He says, it's hotter than Satan's pants tonight. It feels it, I'll be honest. And we've got some windows open, so if you get a bit of background noise, guys, that's just unfortunate because it is hot.
I think if we didn't have the windows open, one of us may die on this stream. It's that hot.
Do you know what? We'll have people that are in Dubai and all sorts of places going, it's 29 degrees, guys.
I know, but we're British.
We're British and it's hot. And we can't deal with it.
We do not cope with the weather.
Anyway, good to be back, guys. Really great to see you all. Really great to see you all. We've got a couple of updates for you. You might have noticed we've got the new intro video. What are we saying? Liking that?
Yeah.
Good, isn't it? Yeah, nice that little intro video.
It's me looking all posh on there.
You're looking all posh in the studio, in the FPL show and all the rest of it. Very nice. Yeah, and give me a little punch on the arm. See that? Little punch on the arm. And we've got a new microphone as well. We've got it set up here. You guys can't see it. Slightly out of shot, but let us know how the audio's coming across. Hopefully it's coming across really well. Already remembered I didn't click go, did I? On the podcast. So that's already a fail for me.
But you've got... I mean, I can't... I forgot about the podcast.
I will somehow find a way to get the audio out there. I'll find a way.
What we need to do is on this fancy old camera stand that we've got going on here, we need to put a little post-it note on it that says...
Just says
podcast.
Podcast. Yes, podcast. But by the time this does reach the podcast listeners, they will be understanding that they will be hearing this, right? So we probably don't need to go on too much about it. We'll find a way to get a podcast.
There'll still be a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
And when it's in, it's 37 in India.
Sorry about that.
There we go.
It's going to be 34 here next week, and I feel like my head's going to blow.
I can't deal with it. I've got commuting to London next week, and I've got to get a tube.
Although I'm going on the fancy new tube line tomorrow, so that's all aircon.
Are you on the Elizabeth line?
Yeah, fancy.
Ooh, here we go. Tracy Halbert is in. Hey, Tracy. Good evening. She says 45 today in Dubai. Oh, it's not 45, is it? How can you... You can't even literally go outside in 45. That is ridiculous.
This is why we're not going to Dubai in the summer.
This is why we're going to Dubai in October.
Yeah, Tracy, we're coming out in October.
If you're in Dubai and you're around in the sort of marinery sort of area, in the sort of the walk area, that's where we're going to be in October.
Eating some cheesecake.
Eating some Cheesecake Factory. One of the key reasons you wanted to book Dubai is Cheesecake Factory, is it not?
Well, we will also be podcasting from Dubai. We'll be doing some work out there.
Doing some other stuff. Yeah.
I'm not just coming for the cheesecake. I am actually going to be doing some work.
I loved it when you booked the Airbnb for our holiday in October in Dubai. You know an Airbnb, guys, where you can say, right, where do you want the central point to be? And then it gives you some options around it. You put the bloody Cheesecake Factory as the central point. So our Airbnb selections were based around wherever the Cheesecake Factory is along the walk.
Why is that an issue?
It's not an issue. Just saying.
Look, if I'm going to be there... doing the FPL Family live stream, I'll be doing it with some cheesecake.
Correct. Yes, correct. First super chat of the season. Raheem Khan, thank you very much for the super chat. Happy FPL, guys. He says, anyone else buzzing for the season to start? Now that FPL's back, I've told my wife I'm busy on Sunday nights from 8:30 for your streams. Can't wait. Raheem,
she's welcome too. Right,
yeah.
To be clear,
come along.
Bring the wife along. It's a family
affair. Come along. Totally. Yeah.
She
totally.
can play.
Yeah.
I'll help her.
But I am genuinely, I'm buzzing for it to start. I mean, we will talk about. Well, let's do it now. What do we think? Sort of overarching kind of view at the high level. What are we saying about the game? They're cheap, aren't they? The players are cheap.
I'm loving it.
Are you?
Yes.
Literally. Are you though?
Yeah. Genuinely, because do you know what?
I'm sort of.
You know that template that everyone was going, oh, it's going to be so boring. Everyone's going to have training.
Well, we do have options.
Suddenly, let's rip it up. I love what FPL have done because suddenly I'm like, oh, look at all those shiny 8 million midfielders. All of them I want. Oh, look at those shiny 6 and 6, 5.5. Can't have them all. Got to make some choices. Nothing is set in stone anymore. And that is why we love FPL.
Well, this is going to be an interesting stream because I happen to feel quite differently to you about that. I happen to feel like, I think they're all a little bit cheaper, so there are some options, but I do think there is a template forming. No. There will be a bit of a game week 1 template. No. So we haven't, to be honest with you, as much as obviously FPL started, and if you've got, if you've been living under a rock for the last week or so and haven't built your team or whatever, or maybe you're just waiting to build your team, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Maybe you're thinking,
maybe you want to hide.
I just want to. Yeah, maybe I just want to get as much information as possible, and then I'll build my team and I'll look at my strategy. That's absolutely fine, right? But we've built teams. We'll share them a bit later. We've got first drafts in. I mean, it ain't going to be like that in game week 1. There will be changes. I'm absolutely convinced of it. But we have done some teams which we'll share with you a bit later on. I've got some watch list players as well that I've pulled together, and I haven't put Salah and Trent and Haaland on there because it's that's a given, right? And they all be on everybody's watch list, right? But there are some other players on my watch list that that's what the watch list is for, players that I'm watching throughout pre-season. So we'll have that conversation. But I'm kind of interested to see where this conversation goes, where you think there's loads of options and I think there's a bit of a template. So watch this space, guys. Watch this space. We've got Kens, who is back. Kens, welcome to the FPL Family live stream. Kens, who, by the way, Sam, became a patron, or re-became a patron today. So Kens, thank you very much for your continued support over on Patreon. He says, hey guys, Ken's here. It feels amazing to be back and doing thousands of drafts a day. Mate, if your camera roll is anything like mine, I've got a couple of pictures of, our kids, and then I've just got... It's just FPL drafts,
How many pictures of me are there?
It's mostly FPL drafts, I'll be honest.
Bet there's none.
Hope yous are okay on the fine evening and love the intro video. Yes,
Do you like it?
I'm all over the intro video. People are enjoying that. It's good.
What about new graphics? Everyone happy with them?
The new graphics? Well, yes, but...
No, I don't mean your...
Not on YouTube, yeah. I mean, we debuted this. There's a new thumbnail.
We've got no YouTube banners. We've gone all new this year.
Oh, it's funny. Did you see that, actually? All the YouTubers were... we all had our... Right, so this is how YouTube works, guys. We all had our kind of thumbnail set, didn't we? For our game week 1. First stream, you had like... I was going to say the Planet Boys, but they have their own sorts of thumbnails. But Mate and Focal and Holly, they all had a certain type of thumbnail. And then the game launches... And the colours are like totally different. They have this like wavy blue and green stuff going on, and we all go, "Oh, right, okay, get the Photoshop out." Everyone's got the same bloody thumbnail. It's exactly the same. Like Andy's the same. We're all got the same bloody colours. Simon is in. Simon Burdett. Hey, Simon, how are you, mate? I hope you're having a great summer, mate.
What's he called at the moment?
He's called Simon Minall Burdett.
Okay.
Any idea what that's all about?
I mean, that's probably just his name.
It could just be his name, yeah. I mean, Si, the man of many names.
He hasn't lost any bets, I don't think, yet.
Not yet. No, not yet. It is still early days. But he said, it's wonderful to see you again. I'm going to Fest in August. And if you'd like to avoid me, mate, we will definitely not.
Don't want to avoid you.
Definitely not be avoiding you, mate. We look forward to seeing you at Fest. Look forward to seeing you over there. That'd be great.
Wearing Susan Boyle mask, though, so we know who you are.
Well, that would be a bit weird. Wouldn't it be a bit weird? Keza FPL is in. Hey, good evening, guys. How you doing, Keza? Harry's here. How you doing, mate? No, Harry's not well at the minute, so get well soon, mate.
What's up with him?
I don't know. I don't think it's a COVID. I think it's a bit of a...
Harry,
cold or whatever. So I hope he's all right. Actually stopped him doing a video, I think. Actually stopped him doing a couple of videos on his channel, which if you know Harry, that means he's proper ill. Yeah. If he ain't doing videos, he's proper ill. So
you come hang out with me and Harry.
You seen Harry? How well Harry's channel's doing at the minute?
Harry's an edge.
Harry, just get in the chat and get your link to your channel on there, guys. There's some absolutely cracking videos over. Harry's channel has just gone poof over the summer. So guys, get on that. Get subscribed to Harry's channel. Andrew Yee is here. We've got Liam Healy. We've got Bossman525. A whole host. It feels like there's a lot in, Sam. It feels like there's a lot in. Shall I have a look? 220 of you in, guys. Welcome to the live stream this evening. Sam, we've got a. What I have done is I've put this page up here because this is the aforementioned new colour scheme. What are we saying about this new colour scheme?
I like it.
I quite like it.
It's like proper summery, isn't it?
I didn't like it at first.
It's like,
but
that's because
it's growing on me. I quite like it now.
And don't take this the wrong way.
What?
It's because you're a bit boring, aren't you? Like,
wow.
You're like quite set in your ways. You were happy with FPL as it was. You didn't want it to change.
Not even 10 minutes into the new season.
Now we've got all this new funky, fresh FPL graphics, and you're like, oh, I'm not so sure. No, it's because you don't like change.
Not even 10 minutes into the new season, and
it's
you
like
are digging me out.
vibes. This is like I feel like I'm going raving.
There's Harry's channel in the chat. Go subscribe over there, guys. Miena is in. How are we doing, Miena? Show us the FPL Family Cup, Lee. It felt like 30 years ago that you won that. It does feel long time ago. I wasn't going to mention it, but since you called me boring in the first 10 minutes, I am going to mention it. What is your strategy for winning, or not going to winning back the trophy, but giving the trophy back to me this season? Are you going all out to beat me, or are you just going to aim for overall rank?
Normal service will resume. I don't need to panic.
I think normal service will resume. Actually, a quick point on that, guys, because this is kind of an important thing, right? For those of you that have missed this, there's a bit of a change to FPL this season, right? We do have this now unlimited... What we call it, a third wildcard? I don't know if we would, but we have like unlimited transfer window after the World Cup.
It's during the World Cup.
During the World Cup. You've read the rules. I clearly haven't. During the World Cup in Qatar, because again, unless you've been living under a rock, you will know there is a Winter World Cup coming up in the middle of this Premier League season, and there is unlimited FPL transfers now during that World Cup.
It's the 12th of November to the 26th of December.
Look at you with the dates. So good.
At 1:30 on both days. It starts on 1:30 on the 12th and ends at 1:30 on the 26th when the deadline's passed.
I knew you'd know it.
You're welcome.
I knew you'd know it. There we go. So you have unlimited transfers goes during the World Cup. So what does that mean? That actually means now you have a wild card to use in the first, I'm going to say 16 game weeks. Am I right?
Well done, correct.
Yes. Wild card to use in the first 16 game weeks. Somewhere in the first 16 game weeks.
After game week 8. There you are.
Probably to be discussed.
International break there.
Probably to be discussed. Then you have unlimited transfers, so effectively another wild card during the World Cup, and then you have the second wild card in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
So are we talking about? I mean, how do you think that's going to affect your strategy for this year? Because if you do, as you're saying there, play your first wild card during that kind of game week 8 international break, all of a sudden you've kind of got a part, phase 1, phase 2. Almost kind of phase 3 and then pre-second wildcard phase 4. I'm kind of thinking the season should be played in kind of 4 chunks of 8 weeks now, rather than us looking. I'm waffling a bit here, but when you pick your team for game week 1, you do have a bit of a look to the future, don't you? You have a bit of a look out. You say, right, who do I want in the long term? I'm not really doing that in my drafts over this summer. I'm kind of saying, well, who's got the best fixtures for the first 8 game weeks?
Well, I think
I'm looking short term.
Normally I am all about holding the first wild card, play it as late as possible. That means that you don't need to then worry about playing the next one early. You can hold that as late as possible, double game weeks. Oh, how are we already talking about double game weeks? But, later on in the season. But this time round, and actually I have, yesterday night, I sat and wrote an article, my first pro-pundit article of the season for Scout. That'll be out next week.
Oh, very good.
It's partly about this. That's why I'm telling you about it. So keep an eye on the Scout.
Still doing a lot of Scouty stuff this year?
Oh, well, I'm all about Scout. If you're not a member at Scout, link in the description below. Come and join us.
I'll give you, that's a bit of a leading question, because actually your role at... Do you want to give a minute on this? Because your role at Scout is...
I don't really want to.
No?
No.
Well, you're going to be doing a lot more with them this season.
Well, yeah, I will be, yeah.
Some exciting stuff coming up.
Yeah,
You're going to just... Are we saving it? You're going to just wait for it to...
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
All right, that was a bit of a random
segue.
For somebody who said before we pressed live, he went, we're not going to waffle as much this year. There's a bit more waffle.
I did actually say that, yeah. I said, don't waffle, and the first thing I've done is waffle for 20 minutes.
I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, so my first Pro Pundit article of the season will be out, and it's about this, which... So for me, I think... This
chunk in the season.
Yeah, because I think for me, it will fundamentally change where my wildcard sits, because normally I'd go all out for getting to as close to game week 16 or whenever the deadline was as possible. But now, obviously, to make the most use of the wildcard, it makes sense to play it at those midway points, because now with this unlimited transfer window over the World Cup... Yeah. You are going to be able to make as many transfers as you want. Obviously, there's going to be budget implications and all of that kind of stuff that there is during a wildcard season. And I would expect... It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because how many managers are going to actually be really engaged with FPL price rises and falls at that point? And how many of them are going to go... Good question. Oh, I'm really into the World Cup. I think it will really depend upon how committed you are. Like, I think us and the guys that come and watch us on a Sunday night... Much like during Project Restart when we had the unlimited windows open and we were allowed to make transfers. They will be making the transfers. But for a lot of the kind of casuals, I'm already using FPL terminology already. I think it back into it so easily. Right? So for me, it's going to fundamentally change how I do things, and it will mean an early wildcard. And at the moment, my thinking is plan for game week 8. First 8 game weeks in this pre-season, and then at game week 8, between game week 8 and game week 9, international break, hit the wild card, play that with the intention of getting to game week 16. And You've already put a lot of thought into this, I can tell. You've already put a lot of thought and plan into this. I'm thinking about my game week 1 team. FPL is life. This is how serious you're taking trying to get the trophy back on my mantelpiece, aren't you, for this season? I can see I can see your forward plan. If anybody thinks that I've actually genuinely got it on my desk, you're wrong. It's sitting on the shelf, because that is where it rightfully belongs. Just another quick word then on before we get into watch lists and drafts and all that sort of stuff, just while we're talking about the game in the kind of macro, if you like. We touched on it briefly there a second ago. Yeah. It feels as if a lot of players are kind of nicely priced. I'm not going to say incorrectly priced. There are a few that I think are a bit funny. But generally speaking, as a general rule, it feels as if a lot of players are that little bit cheaper than maybe we expected. What's the thinking behind that? Is it FPL Towers trying to make the game a little bit more appealing to say, and this is why it comes to my mind, because you were talking about the casual player. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember listening to Mark and Az on Black Box last week, and Mark quite rightly said, when they release the game, when they put the prices together, they're thinking about how can they
increase the popularity of the game. They're not really necessarily building a game for our little corner of the internet. As much as we'd like to think that they are, they're not. They are building it for the masses, and they want the casual, sorry to use that phrase again, but they want the, let's call them the everyday fantasy football manager to be able to log on and say, oh, what they don't want is for somebody to go, oh, I can't have Haaland and Salah and Saka and Kane and De Bruyne. I've got to think about. What they want them to do is go on there and say, oh, I can have bang, bang, bang. I can have all that I want. I can have 3 City, 3 Liverpool, couple of Spurs. I can have teams from the, players from the top team. So it feels like that slight cheapness of players is geared towards the popularity of the game rather than geared towards the hardcore fan, of which there are 200 odd on this live stream.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, I think there's an element of that probably is making the game engaging and exciting. But I also think that the price, genuinely, when the price points came out, I was really excited by them. And I know that there was a bit of a Twitter conversation about how people were saying, it's wrong and it's all too cheap and everything else. But for me, I was like, this is perfect, because it suddenly means that you have got multiple options in the same price point. And rather than kind of going, oh, I can only have, it's that one in the price point that I want, because they've priced kind of Saka in with, other people that we don't really want.
Yeah.
It makes it to the point where you go, oh, well, look, Saka and Son and Foden, they're all in the same price point. I can't have them all, but what I can do is have one of them, and then I can easily move between them. And that's what I like, is that when we're building teams as managers, yes, there's probably going to be the likes of Salah, that sits in most people's teams. I was looking at ownership for Haaland, and that was through the roof.
There's some insane ownership at the minute.
Yes, there will be some players like those guys that have really high ownership. But I think that there's going to be so many brilliant differential picks that you can get in the midfield in particular, and in the defence.
Yeah.
That you'll end up without a template, and that's why I'm really excited about it, because I think, yes, it might appeal to the casual players more, but I think for us as content creators and FPL managers, serious FPL managers, it allows us to kind of go, I might just be able to get a march here on this, because I understand the game, I understand all the background statistics, so I'm loving it.
All right. Well, talking about those players, talking about those differentials, if you like, and the sort of not the super owned players, I have put together a little bit of a watch list. Before I get onto that, thank you to Simon for the super chat. Simon says, I'm excited to start sabotaging my season with ridiculous hits.
Come on, Simon.
Sounds like Simon's going to be playing a little bit riskier this season. However, the World Cup changes the viability for England players avoiding injuries, and it's actually interesting to when you think about which nations are going to the World Cup versus those that aren't. For example, England obviously are. I don't think Egypt are, right? So we haven't got to worry too much about Salah. I'm not sure Norway are either, so maybe I haven't got to worry about Haaland, right? So there's a few nations not going that might affect our thinking around that time of the season.
Yeah.
But we are, a few months away from that yet. You were talking about different people on your watch list. Here's a couple of watch lists. Yeah, so I'll read them out to you because the screen's quite small, isn't it? But I've put together a little bit of a list of defenders and goalkeepers that a lot of people will be thinking about, but some won't either. You guys will be on there going, well, why is Trent not on there? Well, look, listen, I don't think that is worth a conversation. Trent at 7.5 is like, forget about it. He's in. He's in.
I was expecting 8.
Listen, I was looking at him thinking, in my head, I was like, cool, if they put him at 8.5, I'm going to have to really think about whether I want him or somebody else. 7.5? Don't even have to think about it. It's just straight in. Forget about it. So there's a few defenders here and goalkeepers that I want to discuss. We'll talk about the goalies in a second. 46.1% ownership for your new man, Perisic. Remind me, left or right back? Left back, right?
Yeah. But did you see? There was a really funny meme about this. With because we obviously flew to Seoul. Spurs are in Korea.
Oh yes.
And there was a guy who'd taken a picture of Conte on his laptop on this flight, put the FPL thing up and was like, "Ooh, Perisic owned by so many, bench for the first 3 game weeks." And I was like, that is such an FPL thing to happen, isn't it? But yeah, Perisic being number one is interesting.
Getting a bit of ownership.
I mean, at 5.5 million, he's a really nice priced player.
Yes,
he's
absolutely.
attacking. We've seen Sessegnon you might not have seen this, get left behind for our pre-season tour and told to find another club.
Sure.
So obviously that's going to make a difference. Did I say Sessegnon then? I meant Reguilon.
Reguilon.
Yeah. Sessegnon's gone, Doherty's gone, and obviously Perisic has gone. So we've got and Royale's gone. So there's your kind of 2 in the 2 on each side that he likes to have the rotating pairs of.
Murphy in the chat is saying Reggie's been told to do one by Conte. I missed that. Has he
That's
kind
what I
of
was just
been
saying.
told?
Yeah, he's been left behind from the pre-season
What,
tour.
I've been told he's been transfer listed, or?
He's basically left behind Reguilon, Lo Celso, Ndombele and Harry Winks and told them they're not required, according to our friend Fabrizio Romero.
Okay.
So yes, it looks like Perisic is going to be a good option. I do have some worries. I mean, it's the Spurs defence for a start. That's a worry.
Well, listen. Let's do this, right? I am worried about Spurs this year. I think you have had a great summer. I think you're coming off the back of a great season. You've got a top manager. Some of the signings you've made, right? You just quietly went about your business and got Bissouma. What a good signing that is, by the way. So you're saying, oh, it's the Spurs defence. And yeah, maybe in the past we'd say a bit Spursy, bit, leaky, whatever.
But it's mixed, the season start.
He's going to stick Bissouma. You've got Bissouma and Højbjerg there. I don't know whether they play together. Maybe not. I don't know how he plays them together, to be honest. They're two similar sort of player. But all of a sudden, Spurs are going to be solid, right? And the likes of Perisic and whoever he plays on the right wing are going to be attacking with all they've got. And Perisic is not short either. He's got a bit of aerial threat.
No, absolutely. I just have some concerns that we've signed brilliant players, and I don't get me wrong, I am really excited about this season from a Spurs point of view. I mean, this will come back to bite me.
Who's the French dude at centre half as well? Longley?
Yeah.
Is that, have I pronounced that right? Probably
I doubt it. It's French. I can't pronounce it either. So, it is looking like it's promising, but Champions League starts a bit earlier this year. Obviously, because
you have got that to consider, yeah.
We've got to consider that because last season, obviously, we did have the Europa Conference, but we weren't taking that very seriously. There was a lot of big players getting rested in that. Well, that's not going to happen in the Champions League. We're going to need a squad. So we might get some rotation. Like, we've signed players like Richarlison, and people were saying to me, what impact's that going to have on Kulusevski? In my mind, it doesn't really affect Kulusevski, Son and Kane. We can come to them a bit later, really, when we get to the things. But I think with the defenders, I am just a little bit wary because there are other players in that position that can play for Spurs, and might we see rotation? Yes, I think we will. This is Conte and the wing backs. They're so important. There could be some rotation here. So
especially with the 5 subs this year, right?
Yeah.
So there is going to be a bit of rotation. There is a good tweet as well knocking about how often Conte used or didn't use Perisic while they were together at Inter. I think it was Inter. In summary, didn't play every game, so there was a bit of rotation there in terms of starts.
Yeah.
When he did play, didn't always get the 90 minutes, so he'd be kind of off.
Yeah.
And on occasion would do that before the 60-minute mark as well.
Yeah.
So at 5.5, I agree with you. Perisic, I can see why people are flocking to him because I think his route to points is going to be really good. I think you've signed a cracking player because he's a winner, and I think the mentality that he brings to the dressing room is fantastic. I just worry about FPL, actually. I think it's a great signing for Spurs.
Yeah, I agree.
I just have a little thing in my head, and I'm at the minute you'll see my draft a bit later on. I think I've left him in there, but he's not by a long stretch locked in. I don't think right now.
I fully agree with everything you've just said. I think the business that Spurs are doing, brilliant. Does it make anyone at Spurs a better FPL option? No. In my opinion. I think it adds more potential rate. The only people that maybe it makes a better option are Lloris in goal, actually. Because the goalkeepers have all dropped in price. If you want to go with a premium goalkeeper, then maybe actually it makes him more attractive because we have got a better quality set of defenders in front of him. When you think about Langley, and that's not going to be pronounced right, is it? Langley,
isn't it?
No, it's Lang.
Is it?
Lang.
Someone will tell us.
Oh, gosh. Anyway.
And you've got your man Romero, right?
Romero changed his shirt number. He's got back his number 17.
Yeah.
Dyer.
And Bissouma now.
And Bissouma in front with Højbjerg and Bentancur. And then the attacking players as well. We've also got Kulusevski who can drop back, remember, into that wing-back role as well. So there's a lot of potential there. So for me, maybe it makes Hugo Lloris a more secure goalkeeper. And that maybe makes him more attractive. So he's maybe the one that I would look at if I was looking at a Spurs defender right now, because he's the only one that I think is secure of starts.
So here's a good comment from Just a Dad in the chat. Hello, Just a Dad. Perisic great until the Champions League starts, then you ditch. What do you say about that? Good for game week 1 to sort of 4-5 whenever the Champions League starts.
Look, I think my personal opinion is we haven't seen him in a Spurs shirt yet. We haven't seen how he's going to play. We're obviously in Seoul at the moment. So let's see how the Korean tour goes, and I'm going to be watching it very closely. So I'll feedback as to how he's looking. I think you're right. Ahead of the Champions League, it could be a good option. I still think we're going to see a lot of rotation in those wing-back positions. Early substitutions, changes week by week. That would be my thought.
Yeah, no doubt. So Perisic looking high on the agenda for a lot of FPL managers. A couple of others that I want to pick out on here. What are we saying about Cucurella at Brighton versus the possible transfer that he might get to Manchester City? I mean, if he goes to Manchester City at 5 million, what are we saying? Is he going to... I mean, again, is it another one of these, he's going to share minutes and, Cancelo can play both sides, can't he? Walker's there as well. I mean, is it going to be... is he going to share some minutes? Or, I mean, it's a hefty fee. It's being reported that they're going to pay for Cucurella. And it's not that long ago that this guy was, one of the, the top fullbacks in the Barcelona academy. Here's a player that's got some pedigree and has proved at Brighton last season that he can do the business in the Prem. If Pep's got his eye on him at 5 million, you've got to back him to start more often than not, haven't you? Would you, if that happens and Cucurella goes to City, what are you saying? Would you pay the extra 2 and go Cancelo at 7, or would you have a punt on him, or even Kyle Walker, who's also in at 5, right?
It's hard, I think, isn't it? Because for me, Cucurella at Brighton, no go at 5. Because at 4.5, you can have Dunk, you can have Tariq Lamptey, you can have Sanchez in goal, so you can save 0.5 by going for all of those. And I don't think that Dunk and Lamptey are 0.5 less of an option, if that makes sense.
Lamptey in particular at 4.5, that's why I've put him on my watch list, because I don't know, let's see how Brighton do without Yves Bissouma in midfield. But actually, Lamptey, a bit of an injury hit season last season, but we know again what he can do on his day, and he gets forward at the same rate that a Reece James or a Trent gets forward, right? My concern with him is delivery into the box.
And he's been so injured, might he get...
Could he be one that gets protected a little bit? Yeah,
I think
maybe.
in the early part of the season he would, which is... I was having this conversation with Az, when I can't remember what stream I did with Az. I did a stream with Az, and we were talking about this, and he was saying... Actually, maybe Dunk would be his preferred choice at Brighton, because adds the security of starts. There's an aerial threat from set pieces and stuff there as well. So, and he would worry that with the 5 subs, that the likes of Potter will use them and protect Lamptey a little bit, given the injury season that he had last year. But I think with Cucurella, if he goes to Manchester City, we've seen in the past, and we all know as FPL managers how the Pep roulette rolls. And last season it was only really Cancelo who was in the defensive numbers anyway, who was immune from it. Even Diaz wasn't immune from rotation last year. All right, he did have some injuries as well there, but even he wasn't immune. Cancelo was the only one really. We've already said we can have Cancelo play out in that position. We can, obviously they've got Kyle Walker there as well. There's plenty of options. So does Cucurella arrive at 5 million and play every week? I doubt it. Does he get subbed on though? Probably not. Pep doesn't use the subs as he got anyway, so the 5 sub rule I don't think is going to have much impact on Pep.
I heard somewhere he made the least amount of substitutions in the Premier League last season.
I don't think it'll make.
Yeah, he's one of the louder voices in the I want the 5 subs thing, right?
Yeah, I don't think it'll make much difference in terms of people coming on for him. It might just mean more. We might see some more benching for him there. So as long as you've got at 5 million, look, you're going to have a bench to cover a 5 million benching though every week.
Yes.
So I won't worry too much about it. I think if he goes to City, it would be a nice little punt to have. But if you've got the extra 2, then you are going Cancelo, aren't you?
Yeah. The interesting one for me, and the great Del Mondo says it in the chat, is that if they sell Zinchenko, which has been reported, right, that's looking like it could happen this summer. Then potentially Cucurella gets a few minutes, right? Because there's one less player to play there on that side, right? And maybe there's a bit of a Cancelo switcheroo, who knows? But anyway, all eyes on Cucurella if he makes that move, because no doubt he would be dangerous at City. I think he'd be a really good player.
Everyone will be dangerous
really good
at
player.
City.
And if it wasn't, good enough that we had plenty of 4.5 options, because again, you can see a couple on there. Tomiyasu at Arsenal, decent option. Even Mings at Villa, 4.5. I mean, I'd be tempted to probably find the extra bit of money and go for cash at 5. But still, if you were really struggling, a 4.5 Villa defender's not bad. So there's lots of options there. And also, one of the things we always try and do in the summer is we try and find the John Lundstrom. We try and find the Tino Livramento, don't we? We try and find the 4.0 defender that's going to, be that bit of bench fodder for us. Now, I know a lot of you will be looking at a kind of bigger at the back strategy, which is absolutely a strategy I've looked at myself, in terms of investing more at the back, because some of the wing backs are really nicely priced. Reece James coming in at 6 along with Chilwell, Cancelo in at 7, Trent in at 7.5. I think Robbo's in at 7 as well. I mean, Perisic at 5. There's so many good wing-back options there, no doubt about it. But if that's not your strategy and you do want your 5th defender spot to be a 4.0 defender, we're starting potentially to see a few of those come through as well. And Nico Williams, I've got on my watch list because, listen, this kid can play. I've seen him play at Liverpool plenty of times. He's got loads of minutes in the Carabao Cup, the Carling Cup as it was. He's got a little bit of time in some games, but a lot of the time he's been living in Trent's shadow, right? And now he's been linked with a move to, I think it's Fulham for about 17 million. I think that's good money for him. I think he'd be great for us in FPL. Pretty sure he'd be a starter for Fulham at that money as well. And Fulham do need to recruit, right? One of the criticisms... Is it Fulham
or is it Forest?
I think it's both. I think...
Are they both in?
I think they're... That's a good comment, actually. I'm not sure. Is it Fulham or Forest he's in for?
I don't know now.
Nico Williams. The chat will tell us, right? But either one of those clubs need to buy. Forest in particular need to buy because they came up with a load of loan players that have gone back to their clubs.
Well,
right?
they had Spence, didn't they?
Well, yeah, along with a few others, right? The chat will tell us whether it's Fulham or it's Forest that are in for Nico. But wherever he goes, at 4.0, pretty sure he's going to start. And he's reasonably attacking. So again, he's another one that could come onto the radar. Another Liverpool defender as well, Nat Phillips, although he's a bit, far less attacking because he's a centre-half. He's being linked with a loan move potentially or a full-time move back to Bournemouth again. So again, at 4.0, he could get some game time for Bournemouth. So... Listen, at a point in the season where we go, oh, God, who's the 4.0? We're not going to find one. We've got a couple of reasonable options, right? And Ken's is saying, thank you, Ken's, for the super chat. He's got a medical at Forest, right? So you're right, it wasn't Fulham, as I suggested. Nico potentially on his way to Forest. And if the manager there at Forest can get out of Nico Williams what he got out of the likes of Jed Spence in those positions last season, we're going to see an attacking 4.0 at Forest, aren't we?
I mean... Feels nice, doesn't it?
Just feel all right. So very much on my watch list. In terms of goalkeepers, I think you made the comment before. Yeah, the goalkeepers seem to have got.
Has it changed your opinion on goalkeepers this season?
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
Yes, it has. And I think they've done this well actually.
Yeah,
I know there's been a lot of criticism in the community in particular about how they've managed the game and how they've priced some of the players. I think they've pulled a blinder here because.
They were non-events before.
Yeah, you'd never really going to consider Alisson. You're never really going to consider Edison. Not really.
No, you're not.
And I mean, even later on in this last season, you sort of went to Mendy a little bit.
Oh, but you are now looking at Mendy, surely.
Well, yeah, but you only really went to Mendy last season at his price because, Reece James got injured a bit. Dave was injured for a bit, wasn't he? So it's kind of like, I've got to go to Mendy for security of start. Mm-hmm. Now, all of a sudden, you've got Mendy in at 5 million. You've got Alisson and Edison in at 5.5. Even Nick Pope in at 5 as well. And then, of course, I've got David Raya on there as well, who at the moment's in my bus team because I think Brentford's fixtures for that first quarter of the season, we were talking about chunking the season.
Top of the FS Scout fixture ticket.
Listen, for the first 6, they're looking pretty good,
Well, up to game week 10, they sit fully top.
They look, early doors fixtures-wise, they look good, Brentford. So Raya was definitely one that sort of piqued my interest straight away. But yeah, for an extra 0.5, you can have the Chelsea keeper.
Yeah, I know, it's mad, isn't it?
So what are you saying?
It definitely makes you think because in seasons gone by, and you guys that have been watching us for years will know that I like a pair of rotating goalkeepers. I really enjoy picking them out. I look for the ones that play home and away. And as the fixtures were coming out, in my head I was like Raya, Sanchez probably, like 4.5 millions, and but then they started pricing all these other players in cheaper, and I was like, oh, hang on. Now we've got a really interesting goalkeeper conversation. Normally that's the part of the pitch that is really boring, and I refuse to make a change in the goalkeeper position because it's a bit isn't it? You just get them and you keep them on wildcard. But now I'm looking at them thinking, I could have Alisson, I could have Edison, I can have Lloris if I want. These are players that in the past I'd have always gone, nah, thank you. I'll just stick in with the cheaper ones. But this year, those premium goalkeepers, they still have premium price tags in comparison to the other goalkeepers that you could have. Just
comment on Mendy for me a second, because at 5.0, my knee-jerk reaction was, gotta have him at 5 million. I just wonder about the Chelsea defence going into next season.
Well, they need to sign
Rudiger's a big loss. Yeah. I think Christensen, not that I'd been saying that a couple of years ago, but he's a reasonable loss as well.
They need to sign a central defender, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, Thiago Silva's probably their best bet, isn't he? And he's, 37, 38? Yeah. They do need a centre-half.
They do need a centre-half. I mean, obviously, from an attacking perspective, you're going to have Reece James and Chilwell this season, and they're going to be fantastic options.
For sure, yeah, absolutely.
But will Mendy... you know, in the same way that I was saying, I guess, about Spurs and Perisic, you know, we've got all these new centre-backs, and that will be great from a Hugo Lloris perspective. It makes him more attractive in terms of those clean sheets. Now, that's what you want from Mendy too. Now, at the moment, the way the Chelsea defence stands, do they look like they're going to get lots of clean sheets? Well, the fixtures look good, so potentially, but they haven't got Rudiger. And I do think that that is a massive, massive loss. So if they go out and sign a really good centre-back, which they are in the market for, then...
We're linked with Delise, weren't they? I mean, that would be an incredible signing. I don't see it, but
if they could get themselves a good centre-back, then I think Mendy becomes a really lovely 5.0 defender, goalkeeper option.
And Miena, thank you, Miena, for the chat comment. He says, actually, anyone afraid that James might actually, therefore, find himself playing in that back three and therefore not as wide as we would like him to be, right? That's a potential pitfall, I think, of picking James over Chilwell going into the new season. If Chelsea don't buy any more centre-halves, there is a chance that happens, I think.
I think for me, that's going to be a last minute call, depending upon where Chelsea are.
All eyes on pre-season,
come game week, come game week 1 deadline. So when's that? The 5th of August. Come the 4th of August, if Chelsea still haven't signed a centre-back, then absolutely I'll go Chilwell over James, because James is going to end up sitting in that centre-back role now. End of last season, Tuchel said that was about kind of protecting him on his recovery from injury. Didn't want him overexerting himself, and that's why he put him there. But they've got a lack of personnel in that position now as well, and we know Reece James can play there. So if they don't sign anybody, then Chilwell is a better option over James. If they do sign a centre-back, then I think James is a better option over Chilwell. Interesting.
Okay, so all eyes on the Chelsea defence over the pre-season to figure out how Tuchel might set them up going into the new season. Dave is saying in the chat, Chelsea would just go to 4 at the back. I just don't see it, because Tuchel's style is so defined by those wing backs that I just don't see that happening, to be honest with you. I could be wrong. Let's see in pre-season, but I think that's going to be a challenge. Let's move on from defenders and goalkeepers, and we'll talk a bit more about our drafts in a second when we get there. Let's look at the midfielders and forwards that I've put on the watch list as well. Now, again, guys, I haven't put Salah and Haaland and the obvious ones, right? Because they're on everyone's radar, right? I've wanted to try and get some players in there that we're not all perhaps thinking about. Although I've seen a lot of these in a lot of drafts. Top of the shops there for midfielders, 22% owned Pedro Neto in at 5.5.
Now this is a popular pick amongst the content community.
Well, it is. Yeah, what are we saying about... before you comment on Neto, what about Wolves, though, in particular? I noticed actually on Twitter this morning, I saw Chiquinho, I think is how you pronounce him, which, listen, he's not a player that made a big impact last season, but he did come in towards the end of the season and look pretty good. And I was thinking, with a full pre-season behind him, could look quite good. Well, he's done his ACL, so he's out for 6 months. And Wolves' Twitter was a little bit, I have to say, in the comments to that tweet, when Wolves put it out, or maybe this Wolves journo put it out, that I get, in pre-season, I always get a feel from the fans, right? And whenever I see a Spurs post at the minute, the comments in the Spurs post, they are very happy. Spurs fans really happy. That's why I think we're going to have a good season. The comments from the Wolves community when they saw that ACL injury for Chiquinho, it was like, oh, that's it, season done. We're done. Another injury. It's all a bit doom and gloom. What are we saying about Wolves? Is the vibe around the place not quite where it needs to be?
I mean, I don't know. I'll
love to hear from Wolves fans.
I haven't paid too much attention to Wolves, simply because I'm not excited by them from an FPL perspective.
No, I know.
And I know that's
right.
sorry, Wolves fans, if you've got any in the chat. I know that's.
How's Cody 5 million, by the way, as well?
Well,
what's all that about?
I think my problem is that I look at the Wolves' assets, and none of them inspire me. Like, even Neto. Last season, were we seeing loads and loads of goals for Wolves? Absolutely not. Were we seeing loads and loads of clean sheets? Well, we were seeing some clean sheets, and actually Jose Sarr was probably their best FPL pick last season.
Yeah.
So, or maybe Cody. So, for me, I'm looking at Neto, and I can see why people are liking him, because he's nice and cheap. He fills a budget price that you're going to need to fill. He's
probably going to be in that front three more often than not for Wolves. You've got to say he's probably a key player.
Yes, but how many goals are they actually going to score?
Well, yeah.
So this is my thing, right? Is that I look at him, and yes, he's going to fill a spot, but I think he could be one of those players that ends up destroying your team, because you're going to look at him every week and go, oh, he's playing in front, he's playing in that front three, he's attacking. I should be playing him, and he'll get you 2. most weeks because they're just not going to score goals. And that's my concern, is that how many goals are we going to see out
And they have
of
no
Wolves?
squad depth either
They
as
do
well.
not.
And that's why... And we'll do in a couple of weeks from now, we will be back, guys. So hit that subscribe button. We'll be back doing our predictions live stream, which I love doing, right? And those of you that have watched us...
Because we got so many right last year.
Yeah, well, yeah, listen. You called Man United for the league, didn't you? I think it's a bit of a shocker, wasn't it?
Is it Man United?
I think you called Man U for the league because Ronaldo had just come in. And I think you were a bit too happy, weren't you? But
was I?
Anyway, in a couple of weeks, guys, we'll be
worrying,
doing
isn't it?
our predictions live stream, and what we do is we do some predictions at the beginning of the season, and then in the last live stream 38 game weeks from now we reveal what we thought was going to happen at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, and we do this every season, we predict who we think is going to go down. At the moment, if I was writing those predictions today, Wolves would be there or thereabouts. I have to tell you, they've got no squad depth. I think their ownership is a little bit all over the place. They're owned by this family. The Wolves fans will tell me, because I'm going to get some of this wrong, but the owners of Wolves are in a lot of debt, right? They're in a lot of debt, and they haven't got a lot of money to go spending on players to bulk up that squad depth.
Right.
So they might be all right in the short term, Wolves, but let's see where they are at the end of the season. Pedro Neto, though, I think he's all right for 5.5. Don't get me wrong. If you've got him in your team, don't immediately on the back of this knee-jerk him out. I think he's going to be fine for 5.5, but I'm not buzzing about how well Wolves are going to be sort of going forward, and I think actually there's better options than Neto.
Well, I think you could go down if you're going to go at that point. For me, I would
Possibly,
think
yeah.
I'd rather go down and invest somewhere else instead, because at least if you're going in at a 4.5 defender mid or 5, at least then I wouldn't feel like I have to play them every week. I can bench them. I don't know with Neto. I'm really not convinced that Neto is going to be this goal scoring machine that I think the FPL content community hope that he will be.
Well, if you are looking in that kind of bargain basement for your 4th or maybe 5th midfielder, and maybe you are. I mean, there's a lot of people looking at big at the back, and if you're looking at that sort of strategy,
then you're
going to have to go a little bit light in midfield. And if you do want to go down from Neto, normally you're wading around in dross trying to find something half decent. But actually, a couple of players on my watch list, Andreas Pereira, who got a move to, I'm going to get this wrong again, Fulham, I think. I think he got a move from Manchester United to Fulham. So watch this space. He could get a bit of game time. But also, one that I really have got my eye on, and those of you that follow me over on TikTok, thank you if you follow me over on TikTok. I've got over 1,000 followers now on TikTok. Did you know this?
Would you like a medal?
I would, actually, yeah. Links in the description below. TikTokers, get me on your TikTok. It's full of absolute waffle nonsense. Loads of FPL fun over there. I just make videos just for a laugh over there. But I did do a video on TikTok a couple of days ago about Josh Da Silva. 4.5 for Brentford. And we've already talked about the fact Brentford have got some reasonable fixtures coming up in the first few weeks. I think he's going to be the creative go-to.
You think he's going to be the new Eriksen, don't you?
I don't think he's... No, I do not think he's going to be the new Eriksen, because I think Eriksen is a quality player, made a massive difference in that Brentford side. But it's a fact, he ain't going to be there next season, as far as I'm aware. Although
it looks like it.
Man United can't seem to get a transfer over the line, can they? But let's assume that they get Eriksen done. Josh Da Silva is going to come back. Listen, he didn't get any game time last season because he was injured the whole of it. And then when he did come back, I think he got sent off. So it's like, well, he's just played hardly any football. But noticed the day after I posted that TikTok, guess who popped up with a little goal in pre-season for Brentford?
What, do you think it's because he watched your TikTok?
Josh Da Silva watches me on TikTok.
Oh my
bagged
God.
himself a little goal, didn't he, in pre-season? So he's already off and running.
Can you see what I'm living with? I get into bed, go and clean my teeth, get into bed, and he's there, talk about his TikTok content.
Love it.
Oh my God.
I love a bit of TikTok. It's great. So go and follow me over there. But yeah, Josh Da Silva, one to watch, in my opinion. One to watch at 4.5, if that's the way you want to go. Sterling, then.
Oh, this is an interesting one.
Raheem Sterling. So, 10 million in the game. Not cheap.
No.
Only owned by 2.8 million right now.
Too expensive, that's why.
And when I did this slide, a Man City player, but of course, it looks as if I saw him pictured in a Chelsea shirt. He is a Chelsea player now.
It's not been officially announced, there, has it? Didn't we just get a here we go?
Did we just get a Fabrizio Romano? If he says it, it's done, right?
Let's assume... it's done, but I don't think it's been... I haven't seen Chelsea fans going mad yet.
Okay, well, let's assume Sterling's a Chelsea player, which he's pretty much going to be. At 10 million, is he worth a shout now at Chelsea?
Yes, I think...
Interesting.
I don't think he's too expensive in terms of his own price point. I just think when you compare him to other players in the game, in that 8 million bracket, like so Foden, he becomes a bit difficult because he's 2 million more than Foden and Saka and Kulusevski and Those guys. So it's a funny price point to fit into your FPL team, that 10 million bracket, because he's kind of the only one in that bracket as well, isn't he? He kind of sits on his own in that.
I'm getting a lot of grief about TikTok, by the way, on the chat.
Well,
I'm getting a lot of grief.
You are.
Joe Hamilton, I'm 40. There's no way I'm going on TikTok.
But this is right. And that is what you should have thought to yourself when you set it up.
Dan Norman, Lee down with the kids on TikTok. I am. Come on, I am. Boss man just says, Lee, grow up. Brilliant. I love you guys. I'm so pleased to be back.
Don't encourage him because...
Boss man, download TikTok. Get following FPL family over there.
What, just follow you?
Just follow me. No one else. Just me. It's fine. Just me.
I think Harry's over there.
Harry's a bit of a legend over on TikTok.
Yeah, but that's because Harry's about 10 years younger than you.
Age is not... It's not a thing. It's not a thing, Sam.
Harry is down with the kids.
Oh, right. Okay, very good. Oh, very good. Well, he's in tonight. He's going to tell us about Sterling, I'm sure, in the chat, but go on.
I mean, I like Sterling as a pick. He's a player that I would actually, at Chelsea, I would be really interested in. But is he worth more than Mason Mount?
Difficult one, isn't it? I think he makes Mount a better option now that he's there.
I do too, but is he worth paying extra over Mount for? And that's a difficult question, isn't it?
I think it's difficult. I'm not
do
entirely...
a TikTok about it.
I will do a TikTok about Raheem Sterling. We'll talk about Sterling a bit later on because I do have a £10 million player in my bus team at the moment.
Do you?
But it's not Raheem Sterling. We'll talk about that a bit later on. I do want to just a quick word on Rashford. I mean, 6'5".
Right.
What the hell?
Have you lost the plot with this?
What
have you seen at Man United that makes you think they're going to be good?
Hello, new manager.
Yeah.
Ronaldo gone, pretty much. New mentality. Have you not watched some of the Man United training videos on TikTok? Because I have. Some of the Man United training videos, he's got them well drilled, Ten Hag. They need to make some signings, admittedly. The issues are in the boardroom still. Are still there, but on the training ground...
Ten Hag, he's a great manager. It's not about Ten Hag. He's a great manager. He's going to be a great coach. He will, the players that he's got...
So what are you worried about then? Rashford coming in?
All right, then.
Who's going to play up front for Manchester United next
Rashford
season?
will. But
he's going to play the 9.
If they get Eriksen over the line...
Yeah.
If they get a couple of other players in, then I might be interested. At the moment, I'm looking at a Manchester United squad where they've still got a Ronaldo who clearly isn't happy, isn't even going on their tour, being told he's staying at home. But the thing is though, Lee, that negativity is still there, and that's my issue.
Yeah.
When the negativity is gone, when they start signing players, then yes, absolutely, Rashford at $6.5 million is a phenomenal price tag. Sancho as well, also in at a really nice price point.
He's got to make an impact as well, Sancho.
Got to make an impact.
He's got to.
So
he's only 7'5", isn't he, in the game?
7.
Honestly, I think if Ten Hag can get this right, and it's a big if, I don't disagree with you, it's a big if.
Go and watch pre-season for me.
But if he can get it right, they're going to be some bargains. I mean, Rashford at 6'5", knowing what he can do, Rashford, he could be template easily. I don't disagree.
I just think I need to see something from them that's not Manchester United posting their own, oh, look how happy everyone is now. Training ground videos. They're not going to post everyone standing around going, are they? They're going to post the nice videos because the whole club's going, and the fans are like, where's our signings? And the board's got issues and Ronaldo wants to leave. So they're going to post positive videos on TikTok.
Okay, all right.
So let's see how they play in their pre-season matches.
All right. And as Bernardo is saying, with Ronaldo gone, does that make Bruno a bit more of an option now? Are we going to comeback season from Bruno? The penalties back in Bruno's locker? The leadership on the pitch? Everything that we had from Bruno pre-Ronaldo, which, by the way, was sometimes locked-in captaincy for FPL. Let's cast our minds back to before Ronaldo. Bruno was in everyone's team, locked in, often a captaincy choice.
Let's not forget he was the top point scorer 2 seasons
100%.
ago.
100%. So he's got a price cut.
It doesn't become... You don't go from being the highest scoring FPL player in the game to terrible overnight. Last season was an anomaly for Manchester United. They were dreadful, and it all went wrong. He is a fantastic player. So is Rashford. So is Sancho. All of these players are great players.
Good footballers, right?
This is not a squad that should be down where they were last year. These are quality players with a quality manager in charge of them. I just want to see that happen on a football field before I invest.
Yeah. And I wonder whether...
They're easy to get to. They're not hard. They're not high prices. So you can afford to wait.
and this is a bit out there, right? This is a bit of a TikTok video rather than a YouTube video.
Alive.
But is there more to this Eriksen signing than we can see on the sort of the face of it?
What do you mean?
Well, Manchester United and the Man United fans, I'm sure might not 100% agree with me, but I'm sure I won't get completely slated for this. They have got a lot of players that think they're amazing. They've got a lot of players that are a little bit great on YouTube, crap on the pitch. They've got lacking a bit of leadership. A lot of them like the Lamborghinis and the hotels and the TikTok rather than actually doing the football.
A bit like you.
If you get somebody like Christian Eriksen in your dressing room, what is Christian Eriksen, right? He's living for football, first of all, right? He's all about the game. He's gone through an unbelievable journey and is just happy, so happy to have football, right?
Man's a legend.
He understands and values football so highly based on what he's been through.
Yeah.
He's a winner.
Yeah.
He's a pro.
Yeah.
He's everything you want in a sort of a footballer, I think, as a manager.
Yeah. He's not a party boy.
Have United had a bit of a... Have they pulled off a worldie here? Have they got Eriksen? Yes, because he's good on the pitch, but he's going to be brilliant for some of them in the dressing room. Some of them in the dressing room are going to look at him and go, oh, he's a model professional. And he is Christian Eriksen, no doubt about it. I think Ten Hag's bought him for as much off the pitch as he has on the pitch. And I think it's going to make a difference in the dressing room.
I won't have a bad word said about Eriksen from anybody because I think the man is an absolute legend.
Don't get me wrong, they've got a big job to do. Ten Hag's got a big job to do, and this is all if, buts and maybes. But if some of my thinking is in the right direction, we're going to have some bargains at Manchester United, no doubt about it. Speaking of bargains, I want to look at the forwards. And again, I've not put the Haalands, etc. on there, but Gabriel Jesus,
well, this
8
was
million.
An interesting price.
This is a bargain as well, isn't it? What's going on at FPL Towers? What are we saying about this?
I mean, yeah, but how could it be more? Really?
Of course he can.
No.
As soon as he got that move, again, a bit like Trent, I was thinking, oh,
yeah.
If he's 9, I'd seriously consider him. He's 8!
But his move was announced after the game.
Yeah, it makes it even better then, doesn't it?
So he was priced. You've got to think. Price is a Man City player. Price is a Man City player who doesn't play and is going to be behind Haaland. You're not going to price him at 9 behind Haaland.
So now he's gone to Arsenal. He's a good option. Yeah.
So this is why if Arsenal get this deal over the line 2 weeks prior to FPL launching, he's 9, I think, in the game.
Possibly, yes. Possibly. But at 8, I don't think you can overlook him personally.
Well, no, he's scored a couple of goals already.
Yeah, he's got off the mark as well. I mean, all right, pre-season against... probably a lesser team, right? But still, he's got in there, and the videos that I've seen, he looks pretty happy to be there.
Well, he wanted to go and play for Arteta again, didn't he?
He's
worked
got all
with
of that.
Arteta before.
Yeah.
He is everything. He's everything that Arsenal needed in terms of he is a proven Premier League goal scorer, totally. And that is something that they didn't really have last year.
With a bit of regular game time, which he's bound to get.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Arsenal had goal scorers last season, but they didn't have that forward. That big forward in the game. That's the sort of thing that Liverpool have had over the years and Chelsea have had. Who
takes the pens?
And, well, we'll have to see when they get a pen, aren't we?
Who takes the pens? That's
what's going to happen there? Probably Jesus, but then I guess my gut would be it would be him.
Arsenal fans, let us know who takes the pens now that Jesus is around.
Coming in at 8 million, for me, I was looking at my forward line thinking. Maybe 2, one real premium, one mid-priced, and the mid-priced one was going to be Tony because the Brentford fixtures are really lovely, and he's 7 million, and that felt nice.
You liking a bit of Tony at 7 million?
No, I am liking a bit of Tony at 7
nice
million,
price.
but then for $1 million more, I can have
Gabriel,
and Jesus looks like a really nice option too. So,
or for $500,000 less, you can have Mitrovic. What are we saying about him? An absolute hatful of goals in the Championship last year.
But we never see this when he comes up, and this is my issue.
Oh, whoa.
No, we don't.
Right, this is a different Fulham. When they come up last time, they had a different system.
Yeah.
This Fulham team it orients everything around him, right? He is the focal point for everything in this team.
Agreed, but he's not scoring 42 goals in the Premier League.
No, but if he got 25, he'd be happy at 6-5, wouldn't you?
He's not getting 25 goals in the Premier League.
Well, okay.
What? Okay. I mean, if he gets 25 goals in the Premier League, he's Golden Boot next year.
Yeah, I don't.
Mitrovic is not winning the Golden Boot.
Okay, not 25 then. Say he gets 15 goals. Are you happy at 6-5?
Yes, but at 7, I think Tony will get more than that.
Okay. He's very, very much on my radar, Mitrovic. I think the loss of Carvalho to Liverpool, that's a big deal because he was the creative hub. But let me tell you, this is... If you've got this thing in your head about, well, last time they come up, he was rubbish. Forget that. I think this is a different Fulham team.
Yes, but then you look at the underlying statistics for, say, Pookie in the Championship. Pookie's like God's gift to the world. You look at Pookie and Gaffer are so expensive for next season because in the Championship he's unbelievable. Yet and so Norwich comes up, can't quite hit those heights.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, I worry that we get the same from Mitrovic again. Fulham are great in the Championship. Put them up against the Premier League sides week in, week out. They are not scoring the level of goals that they have done in the past in the Championship. I think he's going to get 15 goals next season, tops.
Okay, all right. No, for me, at 6'5", that would be all right, I think.
Yeah, but Jesus is going to get more than that. Jesus is going to get more
He's
than
$1.5 million more.
Yeah, but he's worth $1.5 million more. I don't think... It depends on how you budget in your team, don't you? If you want to go big at the back, you can't go with Haaland/Kane and Jesus and get Mitrovic as well. You're going to have to go cheaper at some point.
All right. Well, as Martin Treaty Swartz is saying, hey, Martin, very nice to see you, mate. Jesus is nailed is going to be the new FPL catchphrase this season.
Oh,
could
God.
be. Yes,
I
could be.
thought of that.
Could be. And what else are we saying? Rick is saying Jesus could compete for the Golden Boot. Listen, he could. He could, no doubt about it.
Should, I think I would add there.
Yeah. Emlyn Pierce, is saying Mitrovic is the new Robbie Earnshaw. Yeah, maybe. And Bossman525, Mitro is a championship forward at best. Martin is back. Mitro's a trap. Yeah, so
I agree with those guys.
Some differences of opinion on Mitrovic. An opinion on a player that I didn't really have an opinion on until I was speaking to Az actually from Scout, was this new lad Undav from Brighton and Hove Albion, or he's coming into Brighton and Hove Albion. I put my hands up. I did not know a thing about this lad.
So hot.
Do you want to open that door?
It's just so hot. We might get a cat.
Well, if we get a cat in, we get a cat in. I'm roasting here, to be honest with you.
It's just so hot.
Undav then, 5.5 for Brighton. I can only really go on what Az is telling me, right? And what Az is saying, because Az is a Brighton
telling you
fan.
this when we was playing darts?
Yes, when we went out with Az and the other guys the other night, he was saying, look, listen, this guy might take a bit of bedding in. It might be more pay to start with, but be under no illusions. This kid is going to be the Brighton centre forward at some stage this season. It's just how quickly Potter gets in there. So 5.5, he's going to be making a reasonable case for our third striker spot, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. Don't know anything about him, I'll be honest.
Scored a lot of goals.
Good. That's a good start.
I think, one of the things that we always sit here and say about Brighton, and the underlying statistics always say about Brighton, is they create a lot of chances. They create good chances as well. Their XG numbers are great.
Yeah.
And they're in alignment with the likes of Spurs and the teams that you would want them to have a forward for. And they've had Welbeck and Morpie. And they've not exactly had anyone to finish their dinners. And that's been a massive problem. It's been a massive problem at Brighton. That's why they've been mid-table. Because they're defensively solid, but they can't finish a ball. So you put somebody that's a proven goal scorer in that forward spot. Now, I think Az is right. I think he does. Does he come in straight away? We've already said before that Potter's going to love having 5 subs. He's going to make a lot of changes.
Quite possibly, yeah.
But I suspect that he might be the one that can actually make a difference. And those XG numbers might actually turn from being just expected goals into actual goals.
Okay.
And if that happens, at 5.5, you can bet everybody in the FPL community is like, oh, hello. And over we go.
You're going to be on him potentially as your second striker if he starts bigging it up, right? If you want to have a Haaland, Undav and a 4.5 bit of fodder, that's a possible, right?
Absolutely.
Possible.
Particularly early on in the season when you're not going to play like your bench boost or anything, because if you know you've got unlimited transfers during the World Cup, you can deal with it then.
Yeah, okay. A few people shouting out, where's Darwin Núñez? Yes, absolutely could be on the list.
Too expensive.
Well, I don't know, and that's the thing, we don't really know, do we, at the moment,
Look,
right?
Jota and Darwin Núñez, for me, too expensive, because you can have Luis Diaz for $1 million less.
Well, more on him in a second, right? Because we've got to talk about our drafts now. In fact, that is a nice segue. Let's talk about your draft first. So here is your draft as it stands. Now, listen, guys, these are going to change massively, I've no doubt, between now and the end of the season. I said to you, or I asked you when I was putting this together, who's locked in, right? I mean, it's all going to change, right? But
James is locked in as long as
Trent,
the centre back.
Salah and James, pretty locked in for the start of the season.
As long as I think a cat's just coming. As long as
we're going to get a visitor.
As long as Chelsea sign a centre defender, then James. Otherwise, it'll be Chilwell. Sorry, I've just got my team up because I can't see over there. But
Still quite small, isn't it? Sorry, yeah.
I think for me, I I like, as you all know, to look at price.
What is Colback doing in there, by the way?
I would like to look at price points. So this is when
Colback?
Yeah, when I first draft my team, I like to look for
What price is Colback?
He's my cheap one.
4.5?
Yeah.
Why have you not got Josh Da Silva?
Because only you love Josh Da Silva.
Because you're not on TikTok, are you? Get on TikTok and then you know about Josh Da Silva.
I'm too old for TikTok.
Colback? Come on, man.
So I like to have price points. Now, this team has got some money in the bank. I think there's...
Thank God, you've got Colback.
There's nothing wrong with Colback.
There's a lot wrong with Colback.
You wait until Colback game week 1 smashes in a hat-trick and then you'll be laughing. I think there's $1 million, maybe $500,000, can't remember, in the bank.
Okay.
So I like to look at price points. And for me, this is a sort of middle of the road first attempt to hit the prices. Now, this team obviously doesn't have Haaland. Let's deal with that for a moment first. I prefer Spurs' fixture game week 1.
Do you think it is a straight choice between Kane and Haaland?
I think it has to be.
I haven't seen many teams with both. You have to choose one or the other.
I don't think...
It sort of feels that way, doesn't it?
I think so. And I think for me, I would rather have Kane for the Southampton game in game week 1. I think I might be... My only issue here, and I think I said this to the guys in our Slack channel the other day, my issue is I can already feel I'm going to have a problem because I think Kane will start well and then I'm going to have an issue where we've got Wolves and Fulham coming up and I'm going to be like, I've got to sell Kane to get Haaland and I'm going to hate every second of that choice.
You're booking in a transfer potentially for game week 2, aren't you?
But I also feel like I'm not going to want to make that transfer. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
I feel like
Kane does well against Saints, which he's probably going to, let's face it.
Yeah, I feel like there could be a real massive problem here. So I really, and if you watch my Instagram stories the other day, you'll have seen I was having a real moment where I was like, I just can't work out how to get Son. Because that's what I wanted. I wanted
expensive any Son this year, or what are we saying?
But deservedly, right? I think he's at the
golden
right
boot
price.
with no pens. Yeah, I mean, you got to say he's due the price hike. I think
he's deservedly 12 million. It's just I can't work out how to budget for him. It's a real pain in the bum. I wanted him to be mispriced at 6 million or something ridiculous. But so it's a real struggle. So I've been trying to just hit the price points. I like the 8 million midfielders. I think there's some really nice picks in that bracket.
I think there's a couple of nice picks there, yes.
Which is why I've got a couple of them in there. For me...
St Max. You love St Max. Please, will you get over Alan St Maximin?
6.5 million bracket.
Oh my days.
What I am
kind of, every draft.
What I am kind of pondering on at the moment is... If the move for Sterling actually does happen and it's officially announced, then I think Grealish might save me $1 million over Foden. Because Grealish is surely going to play then.
He absolutely could. I've just realised for the podcasters, they can't see this team. So for the podcasters, you've got Raya in goal, James Walker, and we'll talk about that in a second, and Trent at the back. Salah, Foden, Saka, St Maximin and Colback in midfield. Kane and Tony up front with, who's that? Patterson, Nico Williams and Undav on the bench. And you've currently got Kane in as your captain for game week 1. So, yeah, and you're saying Trent, Salah and James more or less locked in. Talk to me about Kyle Walker at the back then versus Cancelo.
Well, I couldn't afford Kyle. I couldn't afford Cancelo. So the thing is, something has to give somewhere because, you know, if I'm talking about a team that's got one of the 11.5 million forwards, plus Salah, plus a couple of 8 million midfielders, plus then I want to find budget for Trent and a Chelsea defender.
Yeah.
You then have to make some compromises. And I look at the cheaper Chelsea options, and I'm not that inspired. I look at the cheaper... I mean, the only way to do it is to go Mendy in goal, take James down a bit further to a 5 million defender, which is something I've looked at doing.
Yeah.
Because then I can get up to Cancelo, and that is something that I might do. So I might end up with Mendy as my Chelsea, but then I do.
Do you think Saka's worth a couple of million over Martinelli and 1.5 over his other counterparts, Ødegaard, etc.?
So the other thing to say here is, of course, I did this draft sort of almost just around the time that Jesus was kind of scoring a load of goals in pre-season, and I'm now thinking I probably would rather have Jesus up top than I would Saka in midfield, so maybe I make the move and I swap those over. So there's a lot of... This is kind of a first hit of putting people in the right price points.
Okay.
And then from there, you can move people around. So
do you think that's as important as it's always been, this price point thing?
For me, it is. For me, it's more important than ever. And because of the way that FPL price pay is, because suddenly I'm looking at a team where I'm like, right, I've got... If I hit the 6.5 million midfielder bracket with St Max, if somebody around that bracket starts doing things in pre-season, I can easily get there without having to disrupt everything else. I'm covering the expensive defenders-ish. I'm covering the expensive midfielder slots, and I've got 2 decent options up top. Plus, then I'm watching on what happens with my 4.0 million defenders. Obviously, there's Patterson in there because I'm hoping that he might start for Everton this season. But if he doesn't, obviously in pre-season, then I'll have to fix that. And if Nico Williams doesn't get the move, then obviously I'll also have to fix that. So, because I don't want to be in a situation which we had a couple of years ago, where we all went with, who did we all go with as a 4.0, expecting him to get a move, and he never moved. It was a Liverpool player. Was it Nico Williams?
Could well have been. Yeah, it could have been.
Expecting him to go on loan, and then he never did, and then we were all stuck with a Liverpool player we had to fix because we wanted an extra Liverpool player in there. So, for me, the key with this first draft was to built a team with something in the bank that hit price points and that had some key players in there. But I don't love it.
Well, listen, you've got plenty of time to change Colback out of your team.
What have you got a problem with Colback of all of the players you've picked on?
Just think Colback is an unbelievable pick, by the way. I have to say, another thing that I disagree with you on, so this is going to be an interesting start to the season. I don't think it's as important to hit the price points this season. I just don't think it is. Because you've got the get out of jail card, right? I think Nathan Price is saying it was Rhian Brewster, Sam, was the player, right? We all thought he was getting a move, and he ended up, I think, getting that move, but being cack.
No, he didn't go, did he?
Or perhaps didn't go,
caused us problems.
So I actually don't think it's as important to cover the price points. The reason you wanted to cover the price points, it's easy for me to say, in previous seasons was so that you could jump on and off players quite quickly if you'd made mistakes. I think with the unlimited World Cup wildcard, let's call it, in game week 16, you've now got this, you've almost got like it's not a free wildcard, is it? But you've got this sort of get out of jail free first wildcard that you've got to use between 1 and 16. And that whole decision-making process, do you remember at the beginning of last season, it's like, well, do you use it early or do you use it kind of in the run-up to Christmas? Do you hold it till late? Well, there's no need to hold it till late now because you've got another one over the World Cup. So actually you can be a bit more frivolous, I think. I don't think you have to cover the price points quite so much because, if you get it catastrophically wrong, bang, you've got the wildcard there to cover you.
I think you're kind of allowing yourself to get it catastrophically wrong by not thinking about the price points.
I'm not going to try and get it wrong, but if I do
sounds like you might be. I think for me, playing the price point game is perfect because it means 1 or 2 transfers here or there. I can get to international break, I can play the wildcard in game week 8, and then I've divided my chunks between the beginning of the season and the World Cup with 2 8-game week windows, and in those 2 8-game week windows I can really target fixtures nicely.
Okay.
Because there is some fixture swings around that period as well, so that's kind of nice too. And so by hitting price points in this pre-season, I'm able then to make plans for game week up to game week 8, and I'm then able to use my transfers carefully and considered around who's performing well.
Okay. All right. Well, lots to change, not least Jack Colback, I'm sure. Here's my first draft. Interesting that I have some locked-in players that are different to yours, right? So Trent is the common denominator between us both, right? You'll have to read it out because I can't see them. So this is my team for those of you that I can't see the screen like you or are listening on the podcast. I have Raya in goal. I have Trent, and again I have Walker, but he's a big question mark, and I have Cash at the back. Then I have Salah, Bruno Fernandes, Luis Diaz, Martinelli, and Josh Da Silva in midfield. And I have Haaland and Jesus up front.
Josh Da Silva, what's he doing there?
Josh Da Silva's the one, man. And then on the bench, I have Steele in goal, and I have Lamptey, Roden, who quite easily could be...
injured.
Well, listen, I put him in there because he was a 4.0, right? That could easily be Nico, right? But I've already got 3 Liverpool players, so I had to have somebody else that's 4 million. And then I've got Greenwood as a bit of a burner slot up front, right? Quite frankly, as a 4.5 forward. You love a burner slot, you do. Yeah, but I don't think we're going to need. This is not. You shouldn't need a. We're not going to have a COVID hit season like last season. We're not going to need a. Well, no, you shouldn't need a full bench by game week 8. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So anyway, here's my team. My ones that are locked in are Trent, Haaland, and Luis Diaz. Those 3 are going absolutely nowhere. So you're going to have absolutely no Spurs, bar potentially maybe Joe Roden for the Southampton game. No, I might. So Fernandes is in there, and that I could have Son in there and take a couple of million out somewhere else. I'm not sure where yet, but I could. Where would you take a couple of million? I don't know. So this has been my issue with Son. Yeah, it's difficult, right? But for sure, I'm not having Kane. For sure, I'm having Haaland. For sure, I'm having Haaland. And if that is remember when we all went? Well, I didn't actually. Yeah. When you all went Werner. Yeah. He might not hit the ground running, right? But I just think game week 2, I don't know if they've got game week 2, but you've got Chelsea, I think, and they've got a decent game. So even if he doesn't do it against West Ham, I'm not going to want to transfer him out ahead of his home debut, right? So Trent is in, Haaland is in. And listen, those of you that do follow me on TikTok or on Twitter know that I have been big on Luis Diaz.
Yeah, you have, yeah.
Ever since I saw that price. I think 8 million for Luis Diaz is ridiculous money, by the way. Is ridiculous money. Here's a guy that came in January and hit the ground running. And you'd say he had a pretty good second half of the season, right? And he didn't, Klopp didn't need to ease him in. Notice that Klopp was very keen to have him as the Mane replacement. And let's not beat around the bush. He is the Mane replacement, right? As sad as we are to see Sadio go, Diaz is the left-sided first choice, in my opinion, right? I know Darwin can play there, I know Jota can play there. Luis Diaz is first choice left side, in my opinion. And also I think he makes Robertson a better player, by the way. So you've got Robertson in your draft. Second half of the season when Diaz was there, Robbo was
he was really
produced
good. Yeah,
a lot of goals and a lot of assists, so he's an interesting pick as well. Diaz at 8 is ridiculous money, I think. He's got the potential.
Yeah, but he's got to be 8. What else is he going to be? He's got to go in at the same price as... Like, Kulusevski arrived at the same time. Phenomenal end to the season. They've got to be priced the same.
Yeah.
Saka.
Right, sure.
Got to be in the same
I'm not
price
complaining
point.
about it. I think Diaz should be 9 or 9.5. Because he's going to be playing in that system. Klopp isn't... I don't think Klopp's going to change the system too much. But in the past, we'd never go to Mane because he's 12 million. Now, all of a sudden, you've got somebody there who you've... I've done a couple of drafts where I've had him and not Salah. Now, I don't think I'm going to be brave enough.
You've not even said that Salah's locked in. What's that about?
Salah's not locked in for me. Because I'm thinking, do I want Salah or Son, right, at the moment? Because that's how I would get some Spurs coverage, right? Because I do think you'll do well against Southampton, and I do think you're going to have a good season. But am I going to have Son over Salah? Probably not, right? Probably not. But I am still thinking about it. Whereas Diaz at 8, I ain't even thinking about that. He is in. From what I saw of him in that season... And now he's going to have a pre-season behind him. He's going to have, he's not got any sort of competitions or anything to worry about.
You don't need to persuade me about Luis Diaz. I think he's fantastic. I wanted him at Spurs. I think he's a phenomenal player, and I think at 8 million he's great value. I've been banging on for feels like most of this stream about that 8 million price bracket.
Yeah.
I think there are some phenomenal picks in there. If I could have all of them, I would. Genuinely, I think Luis Diaz, I think Foden, I think Saka, I think Kulusevski, all of them, phenomenal. I just can't believe you sat there and said you might go without Salah.
I might. I probably won't, but I might. It's just he's not locked in, right? He's not locked in. Bruno Fernandes is in there.
Why?
Well, I
thought you loved Rashford.
I think things are changing at Manchester United. And that's why I wanted to spend some time earlier on in the stream talking about it.
Is Bruno Fernandes worth 3.5 million more than Marcus Rashford?
We shall see, won't we?
If Marcus Rashford plays every week.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. But I can't get Bruno from 2 seasons ago
out
of my head, right? And it's not as if they got a crap start to the season. Brighton at home,
they haven't.
Right? They're gonna. We've got to have a look at them in pre-season, right? But again, I'm looking at the rest of my team and I'm thinking Salah, Trent, Diaz, to a degree, Martinelli, Haaland, and Jesus is template. I understand that, right? So if you're going to go with the theory that I had a second ago, which is I'm not going to worry too much about price points, and I'm going to take a risk or two around the template, because you have to.
There won't be a template.
There will be a template. Haaland and Jesus is going to be template.
Right, there'll be 2 players that are template.
Salah and Trent are going to be in the template. Cancelo is going to be in the template.
Disagree.
Raya is going to be in the template.
Disagree.
Diaz probably will be in the template.
Disagree.
Do you?
Yeah, totally.
Why?
I think Haaland will, yes. I think Cancelo likely will, but I think a lot of people, if they don't sign anyone else in that position, if Cucurella doesn't go, I think a lot of people will do what you and I have both done and gone, I'll go Walker instead. He doesn't offer the same attacking threat as Cancelo, but he's 2 million cheaper, and 2 million goes a hell of a long way across the rest of my team.
Yeah.
It gets me from Richarlison to Jesus. It gets me from, I don't know, Undav to Tony, whatever it is, it puts you in a different price point at different players. So for me, I don't think that these players that you've just reeled off, I think there'll be 3 or 4 players that are in everybody's teams, and I think the rest of everyone's teams will look very, very different.
Okay, interesting. So I'm going to go with, well, at the moment, I'm looking at Fernandes as a bit of a differential. Remember that he got a hat-trick on the opening day last season. And I just think I'm not really basing that decision on stats or XG or any of that stuff. I'm basing it on the fact that Ten Hag's coming in. Ronaldo's going out. I think there's more to this Eriksen transfer than meets the eye. I think there's more behind the scenes that Eriksen's going to do there rather than just on the pitch. And I think Fernandes will react to that. I think Fernandes will be looking at that going, I've got to get, he will see it. He's a natural leader on the pitch.
Less set pieces for Bruno, though, because Eriksen takes them?
I don't see Eriksen getting tons of minutes for Manchester United. I honestly don't. And I think Bruno will be back on penalties with no Ronaldo there. He will just, I think, take it upon himself to be the leader that pulls that team back together. And I think Ten Hag will see his quality as well, because Ten Hag, let's not forget, likes the technical players, right? He likes the technical players. And Bruno is one of the best in the business.
I worry that with Manchester United, we are yet to see any signs that all of the things that we think could happen are genuinely going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's why I won't spend 10 million on Bruno Fernandes going into game week 1 unless pre-season shows me something amazing from Manchester United.
All right, well, listen, the jury's out, but for sure...
Where's the Chelsea, by the way?
Well, that could be Sterling, couldn't it, in there? Could be Sterling there. Could be Mason Mount, right?
What?
And if I put Mason Mount in there, then I can have Cancelo rather than Walker, so there's some consideration to be made there.
No Chelsea defender?
Let's wait and see, because I think Reece James is going to play in that centre-back position. And if I was going to get one, I'd have Chilwell. But I could find $1 million in that team somewhere and have not cash and have Chilwell instead, right? There's $1 million in that team somewhere. I'm not sure where, but I'd find it. But listen, it's just I honestly disagree with you massively on the template.
Look at
I
our
think
teams.
there is going. I think let's agree to disagree, but I do think there is going to be at least 5 or 6 in a template, and because of that, and because of the fact you've got almost kind of a free hit wild card going on in the first quarter of the season, I think it's okay to take a couple of risks in game week 1. I honestly do, but
I don't think they're risks.
Well, no, maybe not, right? Maybe not. But anyway, I'm with Bruno. I've just got a bit of a fit. I've got to see pre-season. There's a lot of Man United fans in the chat saying you're mental. I understand that, but I just think there's going to be a bit of a revival at Manchester United. They have got some quality players, and they don't just turn bad, right? They are good players, and I think they've got a good manager coming in now. Anyway, that's my team as it stands. Lots more to be considered. I would say actually that Josh Da Silva is looking pretty locked in. I can't see me having any other 4.5 in midfield if that is the strategy I go with. And I would think Nico Williams would probably be pretty locked in as well if he goes to Forest.
Well, if he
Can't
goes,
see me changing that. So I'm almost locking in about sort of Trent, Haaland, Diaz, Da Silva.
Da Silva. How is Da Silva in your
4.5? 4.5. If that's my strategy, he's going to be locked in. There's no other 4.5 I want. You're going to have Andreas Pereira.
It's Colbeck.
It's tough, God's sake. Right, we're going to end on that comment, guys. Get in the comments below and tell me who you'd prefer to have in your FPL team. Josh Da Silva from Brentford or Colback from... I don't even know who he plays for. Who does Colback even play for? Forest. Colback from Forest. Let's see. If he scores a banger on game week 1, I'm going to be fuming, by the way.
I don't understand why you hate him so much. When we
don't hate him.
When we get off this stream, I am going to find you some world-class performances from Jack Colback, and I'm going to post them to you.
And where are you going to find them?
On Tinternet.
Do you know where you should look for them? You need to get on TikTok. That's what you need to do. Get over to TikTok. Subscribe to FPLFamily.
Can you
more top Jack Colback bands?
Every time you see Colback doing something amazing, just tag Lee, please, on Twitter. Every time. It'll be a lot. You're going to get a lot of tags because Jack Colback, quality.
Right, there we go. Therein lies that's the end, guys. That's the end. An hour and 20 minutes we've done, and frankly...
I thought this was going to be a quick stream.
Well, this is it. I went into it thinking I'm not going to waffle for ages.
You did the waffling.
I thought to myself, I'm not going to do the 2.5 hours that Mark and Az did the other night. Did you see that on Black Box?
I did no waffling. I am hotter than the sun sitting on this chair.
I'll be honest.
I need to go and stand outside in the garden or something.
I'll tell you what we're going to do now. We're going to watch Love Island. How are you enjoying Love Island so far this summer? Good, isn't it?
Tell the truth.
What?
Tell the truth, Lee. Who's enjoying Love Island more?
It's close between me and you. It's close. Every year I say, not getting involved with this. Not doing Love Island. And then I watch the first episode and I can't help it, guys. I can't help it. I get involved.
Do you know what the good thing is, though?
Go on.
Having streamed, we'll be able to fast forward through all the ad breaks.
You can fast forward through the ads and get on. to getting Cole back in my team.
Because you've got to sort out the podcast because you forgot to press record.
That's true. I do need to do that. So there we go. That's what the rest of the FPL family evening consists of. It consists of watching Love Island, getting Cole back in my draft, and subscribing to FPL Family over on TikTok. Guys, we're going to see you again in a couple of weeks where we're going to talk about...
Let's talk about Cole back.
We're going to talk about... what are we going to talk about? Predictions, right? In a couple of weeks, we'll talk about predictions. We'll see how our drafts have evolved. You're going to have Josh De Silva in your team rather than Colback. I absolutely guarantee it.
I'm not. On principle, I'm having Colback till the day I die now.
I may or may not still have Bruno Fernandes in my team. We're going to talk about him a bit more, and we'll have a little bit more pre-season content to have consumed as well. A bit more training camps, this, friendly that, friendly here and there to have to talk about. But until then, guys, leave us a like before you go. If you're new to FPL Family, if you enjoyed the stream, we'd love for you to consider subscribing to the channel as well so you know when we're live next. That's it. Until a couple of weeks from now, we will see you very, very soon. Cheers, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
We need a new one of them as well.
Okay, mic's off.
It's got a roll graphic on it.
Yeah. It's got our very old graphic on it.
Yeah. So we need a new one. Oh, my God.
Well done. Let's get out of here. Get that door open.
I am like a puddle.
Yeah.
The cat came in and then even he thought it's too